Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another long-awaited GitBook webinar. Excited to have everyone here and to go through a lot of the things that we released last week. Hopefully you got to see our new launch video, learn a little bit about what we've launched around adaptive content and the new GitBook Assistant, and maybe get a little bit of a feel on where we're headed with AI and how that relates to a user's journey within your product, but also your documentation. We'll give it just a few minutes for more people to hop on in. In the meantime, feel free to hit the comments and let us know where you're calling in from. I think we have some people calling in from all over the world. So yeah, give us a quick introduction, say hi, and let us know where you're calling in from, and we'll get started in just a minute. I do also have some of my teammates in the chat. So throughout this entire webinar, if you have any questions, feel free to post them into the chat. We'll make sure to try and answer them as soon as possible in real time. If not, we are going to have a bit of a Q&A at the end. So we'll make sure that we go through all the questions and try to get to everyone's and answer whatever you have. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them into the chat and we'll go ahead and get started and by answering them in real time. So I want to give a quick outline and a quick agenda on what we're going to be covering today. So many of you have seen last week, we released a brand new feature and a brand new set of tools in GitBook. The main one being adaptive content. And adaptive content allows you to personalize your docs for the different users who might be visiting them. And we'll go through the website. We'll go through a few of the reasons why we're heading in this direction in just a second. So today is going to be a big overview on what adaptive content is. Again, why we have been building this into GitBook and what that means for you as people who maintain and write documentation. We'll look into some practical use cases as well for adaptive content in your own documentation. And we'll also go through and set it up. There's a lot of different ways that adaptive content works and is required to be set up in your docs, and we're going to cover I think a main section of it. So hopefully by the end of this, you'll have a better understanding on what it is, how it works, and how you can set it up yourself. We'll also take a look at the GitBook Assistant as well, how that ties into the adaptive content piece of everything, some of the features that might not have been talked about so much. And then we'll also take a look at what's next, what we're working on, and building on top of this whole adaptive content launch. And then, like I said, we'll make sure that we get to a Q&A at the end and answer any questions that you have. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. So this is our website. And many of you may have seen this with our newest product launch. But I just want to point out this hero video because I think this highlights and explains a little bit about what adaptive content is from a very high level. Adaptive content allows you to personalize and adapt your docs based on the different users who might be viewing them. So you see here, we have a couple different personas. We have Mateo, we have Katie, and we have, I think, Isabel. And they're different users for your own product that might be in different stages of their journey. So Katie's a software engineer. She's going to require a lot more technical knowledge and information, whether it's her API keys, testable endpoints, but also maybe specific guides on how to set up a feature that she might have access to in your own product. Versus someone who's a little bit new to your product, they might want to learn a little bit more about getting started from the very beginning of their journey, or even a prospective user who might want to just learn a little bit more about the product by seeing a landing page or some more marketing materials instead of diving right into like an API endpoints section. And with adaptive content, you can change and update your entire docs, the same URL, the same documentation site. So each user gets to see a different personalized and tailored experience. If you haven't checked it out, head to our website. We also did an awesome launch video that we released last week. You can check it out. It also goes through everything that I've just explained. But the two main features that we're going to dive into is adaptive content and also the GitBook Assistant, these two things here. And the best way I think to experience and see what that actually means in GitBook and for documentation is to demo it out. So we built a whole demo site. You can access it from a couple different areas. You can access it from this banner here. You can also see it from any of these links as well. And we're going to dive into that and check it out and see and see how it works. But one of the first things that I want to point out is kind of why we're heading in this direction and why we've started to build adaptive content and why we really believe in adaptive and personalized experiences for documentation. A few months ago, we released a big report called the State of Docs for this year, 2025, and we found a lot of amazing insights from this report, specifically around AI. I highly encourage you all to read this. You can go to stateofdocs.com and you can read the whole report. But we had a whole section on AI and the future of documentation, and this is the cornerstone for how we really see documentation evolving over the next few years. And it's not just us at GitBook. It's also all of the. It's also very apparent in the responses that we got from this. And you can see right here from this statistic that I really like. It's pretty impressive. Over 60% of people are already using generative AI as part of their docs workflow, which is probably and most likely some kind of form of like a chat GPT or an AI writing a lot of the materials. But the more interesting one, in my opinion, is 42% of people think that AI will let us build docs that intelligently adapt to user needs. We see this already, and this isn't necessarily a super new concept. There are teams who have built documentation right into their product. So actually, a really good example of this is OpenAI. If you are using Chat GPT or you're using any of their APIs, if you hit their documentation, it's built right into their product. And having your documentation built right into your product unlocks a lot of different things. Not only is it a lot easier for users to navigate to, but you're able to know a lot more about the user, what type of things they're asking or they want to do, what type of features they have access to, what plan they're on, who their teammates are, how their organization is structured. All of these things you're able to know if you build your documentation closer to your product. However, we realize that that's a very big ask for a lot of technical teams. A lot of teams don't have the bandwidth to basically build their documentation right alongside their product. And with this new adaptive content launch, we're trying to make that accessible to everyone, basically unlocking the potential of knowing about your users and adapting that content for the users, even if you're using a tool like GitBook to host and write your documentation. So again, I highly recommend checking out this report. There's a ton of even more awesome findings in this, but I just wanted to point that out because I think this was a really interesting point that we saw when we were running this report in terms of how people are viewing AI and adaptive content in general as a whole in the industry. But again, the best way to see adaptive content and how it works is to dive into our demo site. You all can access this again right from our website, but we're going to go through it together real quick. Let me reset the demo for us as well. So again, adaptive content allows you to personalize your docs. And for the demo, we basically crafted a fake fintech product called Evolve Payments, and we built a whole documentation site around it. But it centers around these 4 different personas. We have Isabel, Katie, Harry, and Jared, and they're all at different stages of their journey with Evolve Payments. We have a new user, Katie's a software engineer, Harry hasn't even signed up, he's a prospective customer, and Jared is an enterprise user. And clicking on any of these cards allows you to switch the view on what this documentation site will look like through their own lens. There's also a little toggle in the corner that you can use. But I just want to point out, let's hop into Katie's persona and see what the docs look like for her. So I'll close the assistant for now. We're going to hop back in that a little bit later. So she sees a lot of very personalized content when she hits our documentation site. And again, it's all just the same URL. So it's not like we're sending them around to specific links. We've built her a specific dashboard. So we know if you actually, let me just open this back up. The the brief for Katie is she's an experienced developer at our company, has been using Evolve Payments, and she's been tasked with implementing Evolve Payments with her company's Stripe instance. And because we know this from Katie, whether she's signed up for Evolve Payments and maybe she's started the onboarding for our Stripe integration, we know that she wants to integrate Stripe. We know that she's a developer, so we want to give her more access to like the API references and maybe the payments dashboard, which is something that she visits quite frequently. And you can personalize it even further by putting her her whole name inside of there. But not only can you adapt the different content that you see specifically on a page, you can adapt many different things inside of here. So like I said, the API reference, we have her specific API key for development and testing, but also production. So we can see and give her the API keys right off the bat. If we head to the guide section, we can point her directly into the sections that she might already want and might be looking for right off the bat. But let's take a look if we are looking at a different user, like an enterprise user who might have access to many more features as a whole. So Jared also has, his dashboard here. We know exactly what he's looking for. He also has access to the reference, some guides, except he was tasked with implementing a company called Addison, so we can point him towards this specifically. But he also has access to a brand new section up here in the upper right, which is his enterprise dashboard, which is a section specifically for him and his team that allows him to find whatever he needs right from the get-go and use the GitBook assistant, or even do things like contact an account manager. So very personalized, highly tailored experiences for Jared, or again, whatever user who might be viewing this. And the big thing about this is when you're building a product, you don't build a one size fits all for every single user. Your users do different actions in your product. They use different features in combination with each other. And that hasn't really been the case with documentation in the past. But again, with adaptive content, you can bring that experience of adaptive, personalized experiences to your documentation. So again, feel free to hop into the demo. Feel free to explore our website, read the report, learn a little bit more about it. But the main piece of this webinar is going to be diving into how does it work, what does it look like, what do I need to do in order to set this up with my own instance, and we're going to dive into that in just a second. Just going to check the comments real quick and see if there's anything I can answer right off the bat. Cool. Kara, I see you have a question. Does the end user have to be logged into GitBook for their persona to be recognized? Or does any user just click on a role persona based on the homepage? So with the demo, you can just click on any one of the cards here, and you'll be seeing it through their lens as their user. But the rest of this webinar, I'm going to dive in and cover how you would set it up. So you actually don't, so your users wouldn't necessarily be clicking on a card. They would just be able, your docs would automatically adapt as soon as they hit the URL that your docs are hosted on. So you don't need to necessarily set up a lot of these like links and stuff like that. So let's hop in. If you've been with me before for any webinars in the past, we've been building this this product called Syncly, which I like to imagine is, well, it's a fake product, but I'd like to imagine it's some sort of calendar management solution. And this is the documentation for it. It's pretty bare bones at the moment. This is what it looks like live. So we have it hosted up here in the last webinar, which you can, again, find all of our webinars on our YouTube. We set up different things like variants, and we set up different sections so you can switch between the different sections. But now that we've released adaptive content, we want to figure out how we can adapt and make this site very personalized for different users who are viewing it. There are a number of different things that you can customize with adaptive content. The main ones being the pages that you see. So if you have different pages in a doc site that you want to only show to specific users, you can do that. So this might be good for specific guides, as you saw with like the integration guides in the demo. You can also adapt the variants that you see, so very useful for different languages as well. And with adaptive content, you might be able to know where a user's located and then adapt the default language based on where they're at. So you can show like French or Spanish or whatever language you want right from the get-go instead of maybe an English version. You can also adapt the sections that you see up here at the top. So we can add different sections for different users. As you saw before, we have an enterprise section for Jared, who is our enterprise user. So you can build out different dashboards or very specific sections for different products or different users and different use cases. You can adapt the buttons in the top as well. And this is a very, very easy and common one as well. If you normally have like login or sign up buttons from your marketing page, you might also have in your docs. You can do it that if a user's logged in, you can replace the buttons to maybe say like open dashboard or contact account manager or contact support right from here if you know that they're logged in. And the most powerful one is basically adapting the page content. So we've also recently released 2 new features called the conditional blocks and also the very inline variables, and both allow you to use adaptive content by either conditionally showing blocks of content. So maybe it's like this section or even specific words as well. So as you saw in the demo, we saw how to customize and add a way that it says hello Katie or hello first name, basically when someone is logged in and they visit your site. And we're going to take a look and see how it all works. So the first thing that we need to do in order to, before we can start adapting our content, is to enable it. And you can enable adaptive content from your site's settings. So right here, we're in our dashboard. We'll head to settings, and then we'll head to the audience tab. Right now it's set to public default. That's going to be just fine. And we are going to start by enabling adaptive content. After you enable let me edit this again. After you enable adaptive content, this modal is going to appear and ask you to define something called a visitor schema. Now, a visitor schema is essentially a map of the data that you expect the users to have when they show up to your site. So different properties on the different user. This can be a number, you could really write and have whatever properties you want, and they can include things like the plan type, if they might be, let's say, like a beta user, if they're logged in even, what type of programming languages they like. So any information that you want to adapt the content to your user, you'll want to define this in your visitor schema. I'm also going to pull up our own docs as we go through this, because there's a lot of really great code snippets and different information about these features as we go through and set this up. So we head to enabling adaptive content, and as I mentioned, after you enable it, you'll need to set up a visitor schema. Now, how I'm going to enable this is going to be for an enterprise user. So what I'm going to do is when someone hits this documentation, we have a specific enterprise section of users. They have extra capabilities. So they have an extra link to contact their account manager. They'll have a whole new section up here as well, where they'll be able to, as you saw in the demo, get to their enterprise dashboard. So in order for us to do that, we need to define and grab a variable to represent this enterprise user. And we're going to call this one is enterprise or is enterprise user. And what I'm going to do is actually just copy this one called unsigned claim, and I'm going to paste it into our adaptive schema. Now, a little bit about these different claims. We support a number of different types, so strings, booleans, and objects. And there is a difference between the visitor schema being like this or through or set as an unsigned claim. And I'm going to explain the difference real quick between all of them. As you adapt your content, you need to know information about a user. And there's a number of different ways that we can basically pass that information from a user to GitBook. And there's 4 main ways that we have that's possible to do this: through your browser's cookies, through a URL, which is what you've seen inside of the demo. So we basically are just passing these claims through the URL when we click it there. through a feature flag provider with either Launch Darkly or Bucket, or through authenticated access. And authenticated access is basically a sign-in screen to protect your docs. So here's how each one would work in the context of your documentation if you set this up. Cookies are probably the most common way to set up adaptive content. And what this allows you to do is store information from your own product's login. So let's say that you have your product and your users have to log in through a dashboard somewhere. So they go to myproduct.com and they log in. Now, when they log in, they'll be logging into your product, but what you're able to do is set up a little bit of extra information or a little bit of extra code when they sign in through your product that basically will pass that information to GitBook. And this is where you're able to pass whatever information you want, whether it's your names, their plan information, the products they have access to, or even feature flags in this option. The second way that you can do it, pass information, is through feature flags. And this one's going to be specific if you want to adapt your content based on what features someone have available to them. And we have two integrations through Launch Darkly and also Bucket, which are two feature flag providers. This works very similarly as well as the cookies. You need to add a little bit of code from the SDKs provided by Launch Darkly and GitBook that allow you to pass those different feature flags to GitBook. So when a user hits your docs, we know what features they have access to. And this one is very, very useful, especially if you're using one of these two providers. For instance, if you use Launch Darkly to gate different features in your product, and you give a new user access to this, to a feature in Launch Darkly, you will then be able to automatically adapt your docs experience for that user by showing them information for that feature. And anyone who doesn't have access to the feature, they won't be able to see or access the docs. So this one's also very, very useful. Authenticated access, again, is protected docs. So if you have a sign-in wall to protect your docs, this works right out of the box. We have integrations for Auth0, Azure AD, AWS, and Okta, which basically allow you to say, well, if someone has to log in to access your docs, you already know who that user is because they have to go through the login flow. And from there, you're able to adapt the docs and adapt your documentation from there. The fourth one, and the one that we're going to be exploring today, is through the URL. And the URL is great for very easy demos like the one that we're going to look at today. Or if you just need to maybe show like a specific landing page from your marketing website or through a campaign. Because the URL is a little bit less secure than passing information through cookies or authenticated access or feature flags, but it allows you to demonstrate these capabilities very easily right off the bat. And the setup for all of these is very similar, if not the same. So we're going to use URL just so we can demo how this all works and what the setup looks like, because the setup, again, is the same for all of them. That being said, going back to where I was, if you are setting up if you are using the URL, you do need to set your visitor schema using the unsigned object. And this is why I was copying the unsigned version of it, because we're going to do this demo with the URL. If you're using cookies or authenticated access or even feature flags, you are going to just be using some of these examples that you see here. But for this one, we're going to use the unsigned claim. So let's head back to here. And this is beta user we don't need because we only need the unsigned object. And the main thing that I mentioned we want to do is adapt this content for an enterprise user. So the example gives a language, but what we're going to do is enterprise. And this is going to be a key on basically the URL saying if someone's an enterprise user or not. We're going to change this to a Boolean, which is basically a true or false, because we want to say if someone's enterprise or they're not. Let me just update this as well. If a user is an enterprise user. and we'll format that. The other thing that I want to mention just now, and we'll revisit this a little bit later, as you adapt your content, we provide a lot of different things like autocomplete and ways to know what kind of claims are being passed in when someone visits your site. And this is going to come all from your schema. This is also something that is required. So make sure you head to our docs if you are a little confused or need a little bit of help, or again, always make sure you reach out to our support team if you're having trouble setting this up or need a little bit more inspiration. But now that we have our visitor schema set up, we can click save. And we should pretty much be good to go in order to start accepting claims through our URL. The next thing we will want to do is adapt our content. So as I mentioned, you can adapt your content in a number of different ways, whether it's pages, variants, sections, header links, or inline expressions. And because this is, again, an enterprise user we're focusing on setting up, we're going to add more information for this enterprise user. So as I mentioned, we have two different sections up here, but we want to have one extra one for our enterprise user. So let me go ahead and add a new section. And I've already created this enterprise space. And let's just put like a lock here, and this will go live right away. And cool, it looks like that should be live. Let me just refresh. Might just take a sec. Let me see if there's any questions inside of here as well. Okay, so now we see, so I see a few questions in here. We'll make sure that we get to these as well. So just hang tight. So now we see the enterprise section here, which is just a full page enterprise kind of dashboard or landing page, as you could imagine. So in order for us to adapt this for the user, what we'll need to do is set a conditional claim on it. And the first thing that we're going to want to do is head to the three dots next to it inside of the structure, and we'll do site audience. We'll change this to conditional. And this will give us a little overview. It says only show this section if, and we have to define a, well, an expression. You'll also see that our visitor schema gives us some suggestions on how to show or hide this, which is exactly what we're going to want to use for this one, because we only want to show this page to users who are enterprise users, where this might be equal to true. So all of these claims are going to be added under visitor.claims, but again, we have to use unsigned because we're going to be using it through the URL. Then we'll target the property we're using is enterprise, and then we're making sure it's set to true. So we'll basically only be able to see this if we are an enterprise user. So now if we head back to our docs and we refresh this, we'll see that we don't have access to this enterprise section. What we essentially want to be able to do, though, is say, well, if we are an enterprise user, we want to see it. And again, if you're passing through claims through the URL, you would be adding it through query parameters at the end. And this would look like something like visitor.claims, or excuse me, visitor.isEnterprise equals, spelled out, equals true. We have all of this information as well inside of the inside of our docs as well. And there's, again, a number of different ways to enable this, but if you are heading through this, you can find all the information on how to do this. But you'll see that once we pass that claim at the top, the visitor.isEnterprise equals true, we will then have access to this this enterprise section. And we can start to adapt a lot more of our content as well. Not only the sections that we see here, but even things like our login buttons that we see at the top as well. So let me head to the layout tab. And what we're going to basically do is add, if we are an enterprise user and we're logged in, we want to be able to see our dashboard, and we want to be able to have access to our enterprise support team. So let's add the first one. Let's do enterprise support, or maybe contact account manager. I'm going to just pass all of these to GitBook for the time being. We'll show this as a link. But we only want to show this one if we are an enterprise user that you see here. So again, we can reuse this same claim everywhere. So if we are an account, or if we are an enterprise user, we should be able to see that link. What we also want to do then is hide this normal support one and the community links if we are not an enterprise user. So only show this if you are not an enterprise user. So we'll do that. We'll do the same here as well. And then essentially what we also want to do, if we are logged in already, because we know we are an enterprise user, we want to add a new, let's say like open dashboard as well. And we can point this to wherever it might be. Let's do the primary button. Let's set the access to only true if we're here. And again, we don't want to show the other ones if they are false or if it's not an enterprise user. So let's update this as well. And now by default, you'll see a couple different, you'll see this up in the preview right now. But if we head to the, let me save these changes here. But if we head to our preview inside of here, we'll be able to basically, we'll be able to adapt this differently based on what we call different segments. And a segment is a way that you can test the claims that you're setting, whether it's on your links up here, whether it's on your whether it's on the sections, the page content, etc. It's basically defining a mock set of users that you're able to see what the docs would look like through their lens. The default experience is is basically the default documentation, what it looks like to anyone, so who's not logged in. So if they just visit your site and they're not logged into your product, if they're not logged in through your docs, if you have the login set up. But you can create a new segment, or you can find a list of ones that we find based on people who are visiting your docs. So because we visited this documentation with this claim is enterprise, it found this and gave us an example saying, this might be a segment that you might want to test with. So if we change this, give it a second to reload. You'll see that when we are an enterprise user, if we have that claim, we'll be able to see the enterprise section, and we'll be able to open our dashboard and contact an account manager. But if we switch back to the default experience, we don't see the enterprise section, and we should see those buttons. Well, I think that is a bit of a bug right now, but let me come back to that. But the segments is a good way to test to see what's working across your documentation when you set up the different claims that you have. So as I mentioned, not only though are we able to set up the different conditions for your header links, your variants, or your sections, but you can also adapt stuff within your documentation as well. So I'm going to head to the main documentation that I have, and to set any conditions on your content, you'll have to first open a change request. So let me do that very quickly. And inside of here, we can explore more ways that we're able to add different conditions. So if you want to set different access for your pages, you'll see the site audience section in the 3 dots menu next to any page. So we could set this to conditional and then set that same claim up there. You'll also be able to insert and use the conditional editor from different blocks that we have. So the first one that I want to show is something called conditional content. So the conditional content allows you to add content inside of here. So we can type as much stuff inside of here as we want. So we can say, hello there. We can add maybe some cards. We can add a lot of different things inside of here. Maybe just like a hint for the time being. You can only see this if you are an enterprise user. Let me just make this a little bit nicer. Oops. And then if you want to add a condition, you can open up this little conditional expression here, and the same thing will apply. So we're looking for the visitor.claims.unsigned.isEnterprise, and you'll see through this autocomplete is helping me add the different claims and the different conditions right here, and we'll make sure that that is equal to true. And now when we merge that in, we will then see, well, we'll see it here, but inside of our main documentation, if we refresh, give it a second here. As this is loading, I'm going to also head to our enterprise and show you as well. It's just taking an extra second here. Not sure why. 1 second. So because we are still logged in, it remembered our session from the last time. We still see the enterprise section. We see this this note here, and we also see the open dashboard section at the top. So what I want to just clarify as well, because I've seen some questions as well in the chat. This is only one way of setting all of this up, and all of this is under the impression that you are setting your claims at the top in a URL. This might not be the most practical way that you are passing different claims through your documentation, but it is. I'm just using this one for the demo for today to show off this stuff very easily without having to log in and log in out of a bunch of different aspects. Again, the more common one that you would probably use is this cookies option, which allows you to basically pass the same information, whether it's is enterprise or what products someone has access to, but you'll pass it all throughout the login through your own application. So again, if you have your product and you have your products dashboard at productdashboard.com, every time they log in there, all of this information will be stored. So by the time they hit your GitBook documentation, it will all be automatic. So you won't have to pass in these URL tokens, or you don't have to mess with this at all. The only thing you'll need to make sure you set is your visitor schema, which again is just something that you'll need to do in order to basically adapt your content and know what is available and what claims you can set up. If you are interested in setting up any of these other methods as well, we have a bunch of information on this. So we have a full walkthrough and guide on setting this up step for step, including the visitor, including all of the visitor schema and basically end to end from that way. We also have in authenticated access some guides that we've been working on and some tutorials. So we have a whole Auth0 setup as well, if you are interested in an end-to-end tutorial on setting this up with Auth0, which also is really applicable for the other authenticated access integrations as well. And we also have a video on the URL as well. So if you are, again, wanting to see a guide on how you can set this up. We have guides, and we also have, I don't think the video is on here, but we do have a video on this as well on our YouTube that you can access and see how to go through all of this from end to end. The other thing then that I wanted to demo after we kind of briefly explored adaptive content and how it works, how to get it set up and what you can kind of do with it, is the other thing that we launched, which is the GitBook Assistant. And the GitBook Assistant is a built-in AI chat that allows you to ask questions directly to your documentation. So previously, we have had the semantic search that you see up here. So we can say something like getting started. You'll see it. You can search your English, the variant that we're on right now, or you can search all your content across your sections. And all of the options that you see down here is just a semantic search. So it will just find keywords that are related to this. But you can also ask a question with AI, which is something that we, again, previously had. So you can get an answer from an AI response. But the GitBook Assistant takes that all a step further because it's a live chat that you can, that is a lot more intelligent, that you can ask questions to and learn a little bit more about your documentation. And not only is it more intelligent from an AI perspective, but adaptive content also feeds into the GitBook Assistant too. And that's a really important part on a lot of the things that we're building and where we're going with the GitBook Assistant as well. Because if you know that a certain user is viewing your documentation site, you'll also be able to use that knowledge inside of the GitBook Assistant as someone's asking it questions. It'll know what pages they have access to, what information is on the page that only they can specifically see, and even potentially know information about their product usage and product journey. Again, the plans that they're on, and so on. So this is a lot more smart than just a AI kind of search and response mechanism that we had previously in the documentation. So I'd highly recommend you try this out as well. You can also try it out in our own docs if you want to see. And some of the things that I'm really excited about us working on next as we continue to build on top of the adaptive content and the AI features inside of GitBook, not only is this whole contextual AI assistant, but also adding more sources and more abilities to the assistant in general. So one of the things that we've been building and we are launching very soon are different connectors for your AI chatbot and chatbot experience as well. So let me head actually to the overview and back to our settings. You can enable the assistant from your settings at any point as well. If you, again, just want the semantic search, if you want an AI search, or if you want the assistant that we've been using as well. But one of the things that you can also do is add an MCP server, which basically allows you to pull in third-party answers and tools and third-party AI tools to help the assistant answer questions on its behalf. So one of the things that we've implemented in our own assistant is essentially a GitHub Communities MCP server. If you aren't a part of it already, you can head to our GitHub, which is github.com, gitbook.io/community, and you'll be able to start different discussions, read different discussions, and contribute your own feature requests and get help right from our community. But we've hooked up all of that knowledge through an MCP server to our GitBook Assistant as well. So we can also ask it more intelligent and more contextual questions as well. So this is just a quick demo or an example, but we can say, what are people on GitHub saying about MCP? And we don't have a lot of information about that in our docs. So what it has done is basically called the MCP server. And it has linked us to these different discussions that we have inside of our community. So this is really, really exciting and really impressive for what we can do with the GitBook Assistant and where we're going with this. We definitely have plans to add a lot more public ones, and also a lot more information on how you can create your own MCP server to integrate it into GitBook as well. Some of the ones that we are kind of experimenting with is pulling in information from tools like Intercom and Zendesk, Slack, Discord, but feel free to let us know here or in our community which kind of integrations you think would be the most useful, because yeah, we would love to see what the most popular integrations that we could build for the GitBook Assistant would be, and how they could basically be helpful for you and your team. There are a few other things that I wanted to mention that we are working on top of the MCP servers, and releasing a few more public ones that you can install and use inside of your own GitBook Assistant. We are also definitely trying to make the setup for adaptive content a lot easier. We definitely know that there's a lot of kind of setup that you need to do, especially around the visitor schema, and potentially the things with like cookies and having to install and use some extra code within your visitor login. So we're definitely taking a look at this and seeing how we can make this more easy to use, like the integrations that we have with Launch Darkly or Bucket, because these are more of a one-click install into your organization to get it to work. And we also want to continue to expand the different things that you can do with adaptive content, not only with the assistant, not only with the header links, with the different pages that you see, the sections, but more of your content, making it a lot more personalized, specifically with the API blocks, extending the things that you can do with your API keys, also using that as well with the AI assistant, and a lot more. So again, highly recommend you hop into our GitHub community. Let us know what you think of the webinar, these features, and also what you are interested in adding to this feature set, and what kind of things you find helpful for your own documentation inside of GitBook. And with that, I hope that this was a pretty good overview, at least on how it works. If you are, again, looking for a little bit more of a demo of this, feel free to head to our YouTube, head to our documentation. We have tons of examples, but also I would say mostly head to the adaptive content demo, because I think this is a really great way to see this all in action and see once bigger site adapt to all of these different users in real time. And yeah, like I said, hop into our community and let us know what you're looking for next. But with a few minutes left on the clock before the webinar ends, let us hop into some questions, because I see there's been a lot of chat, but it might be a little bit hard for me to hop into all of them. So I'm going to kind of work backwards here and see what I haven't what I can get to. So yes, it looks like Sonia is saying that it is, oops, yeah, she's saying she would love to use it, but it looks a little bit complicated to set up. Yes, and this is what I kind of mentioned at the end. This is definitely the phase one for adaptive content. With GitBook, we realized there's quite a lot of setup that we need to do, or that you would need to do in order to get this working. So we hope that we can improve on this in the future with more of like a one-click kind of install, and have it a lot easier from there. Again, feel free to let us know as well in our community if there's any specific features that you want to use with adaptive content, and maybe there might be some smart ways that we can make that a little bit easier for teams to set up. So Graham and Valeria were asking or talking about templates. We do also have templates in GitBook as well. If you are ever creating more sites inside, if you are creating a new space, you should see all these templates right from the start up here. But yes, also Valeria did mention the Good Docs project, which is also a great resource, in my opinion, for finding some templates that you could use. Yes, Kara is also asking a great question on the concern integrating it with an app that has access to internal information. This is also very, very top of mind, which is also to say that these integrations aren't fully done yet because we do want to make sure that we get it right. So hang tight on this, but we definitely have this top of mind in terms of making sure that the information is very secure to the people who have access to it. And that has been a very big theme as well with adaptive content, because we realize that a lot of you might be using this and probably are using this to show sensitive information to sensitive groups of people. So all of this has definitely been built with security at top of mind as well. Uh, Philippe is asking, is there a way for users to turn off adaptive content? For example, we have multi-tier in our products. In some cases, users might want to see docs for features they do not have access to. So this is another thing that we are also experimenting with as well, because obviously we want to make it as easy as possible for people to find the information they use and really highlight and tailor the experience. But we also don't want to make sure we're hiding information, which it does seem like with the adaptive content experience. So we are experimenting with different ways that we can basically surface or allow people to choose the type of experience they want, even if we do kind of start with a more tailored or adaptive experience. So we don't have a great answer for that right now, other than if you maybe add conditions to those sections and create like a new segment that says can see like has access to all docs, and then use that as like some sort of way to show all the documentation. Annie is asking if the GitBook Assistant takes input data as part of the training for GitBook Assistant. No, it does not. It also only will use the information within your own docs, unless you hook it up again to an MCP server, but by default, it only has access to the documentation that it lives in. Let's see. Marcel is asking a question about version history and different versions. So yes, you would be able to basically do that. With adaptive content, you would want to use what are called variants inside of here. So basically, right now we're using these for we're using this for languages, but you could also very much use these for different product versions, and then again adapt the default experience on what someone has access to based on that. So they would see like the one that they have access to. You would also set that up from within your your settings inside of the structure, basically right from the site audience, from the variants there. Yushi is asking if you can personalize according to different personas like consumers, developers, and operators. You absolutely can. Head to the adaptive content demo, and you can see exactly us doing that. Software engineers, new users, and different users. And you can take a look at this recording after we release it tomorrow if you want to see more on setting it up, or head to our YouTube and see how you can set it up already, because we have some tutorials live right now. I'm not sure what you were referring to, Valeria, but basically when you hide a section or conditionally show a section, they only have access to it if they have the claims. So they need to be part of the segment that you have defined and added the information to. Lenice is asking about the default section according to the user's role. That's a good one. That is something that we are exploring right now, basically, so you can see like the order of different things and have them essentially basically what the default section is, exactly what you've asked. We don't have that live just yet, but that is definitely a good one for us to look into. Yes, Ditya is asking about conditional consent with authenticated access. Yes, and that is also a very common use case as well. So we have a couple different providers for authenticated access. And depending on the one that you're using, at the end of these sections, you'll also see ways that you can configure adaptive consent for this as well. Once you configure this, you'll be able to follow the rest of the adapting your content section as well, because that information will be passed to GitBook, and you'll be able to adapt your content from there. Okay, if you want to ask, we have a few more minutes. Just taking a look through the rest of these comments to see if there's anything else I can answer in the meantime. Yes, so Sandra is asking if you can give different examples. And yes, you can. And this is actually what I was trying to show in the this section here as well. So you'll see that this section is only set for enterprise users, and you could put different code blocks or different examples inside of this conditional block. So if they are an enterprise user, they'll be able to see this. And right under it, you could also have another one that says, if they're a developer, they'll be able to see this. So you can kind of piece together these different blocks on your homepage that will allow you to adapt the experience based on, again, who's currently viewing the site. So not everyone will see the same information. All right, I think we've answered a lot of questions on here, and hopefully that this was a good overview of adaptive content. Hopefully this allowed you to see it in action and learn a little bit more about how this all works. And again, this is just the beginning of the whole kind of personalization for GitBook docs and the documentation that you're able to do. I think you're able to do a lot right now, but we have a lot more coming, specifically again with the AI assistant, how adaptive content plays into the personalization of the assistant, and a lot more little improvements and tweaks to the content that you're able to basically tailor for the different users outside of just the pages and the sections as well. So stay tuned for more. We definitely love having these webinars, so I can see us having another one in the future. But in the meantime, head to our community. Please let us know what you think of the new feature, what you want to see next, and what you've been able to build, because we love seeing all the different GitBook sites that you're all using with us. So thank you again so much, and we hope to see you at the next one, and we'll see you in our community. Bye.